Takes. You're tuned into The Cut, hosted by Thomas Roth.
Hey there, everybody. It is October 14th, and we are here tonight at The Cut. Welcome, everybody, into The Cut. I'm Thomas Roth, and I am here to give you the hot takes that we are all craving. Whether it's politics, conspiracy theories, pop culture, sports, anything of the sort, we are here to give you our live and unfiltered takes. So tonight, I would really like to do a shout out to Correct Studios, or not Correct Repair Shop, excuse me. I apologize. He's got so many businesses, I get them mixed up sometimes. But our sponsor out here tonight, Cracked, we definitely appreciate you. Go ahead and visit crackedrepair.com. That's CRAKD repair.com. Owner Anthony Aquendo, who owns a cell phone and electronics repair store, is going to be able to take care of any cracked, busted, defective, smashed, or whoopsies on your devices. Really nice thing on his website, if you go on there and you look into repairs, you can actually take a look and see what an idea of what it would cost to get your device fixed. You can see the repair type, you can see the repair categories, the manufacturers, the models, colors, and then specify the problem. And it's going to give you a really good idea of what it's going to cost. Makes everything nice, simple, and takes the guesswork out of anything associated with phone repair. We all need our phones. We all need our electronic devices. And this man gets it done quick. And he gets it done in a quality and efficient manner, standing behind his work with unparalleled customer service. If you go on to Google, you can see they have a fantastic reputation in this community and in the repair world at large. So, again, crackedrepair.com, or shoot Anthony a message on Facebook. I'm sure he'd love to chat with you about fixing your cell phones, your PlayStations, your laptops, whatever you have. But that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. Tonight, we're here to talk about two things. We're going to talk about some urban legends, and we're going to talk about the Mandela effect. So, before we get into anything, I'd like you guys to take a moment out of your night to like, share, subscribe, and all of that to this channel and to the video so that we can continue to bring you great content every Monday as we go into a little bit more of spooky season. We got 2 more episodes in this spooky space, and then we're going to pivot into the rest of the year. I think we got some topics that are going to be pretty interesting. We do have a very exciting episode potentially coming at the end of the month with someone who has her own spooky podcast, and in addition to that, she doesn't just have her own spooky podcast, but she's also a ghost hunter, a verified ghost hunter who does some pretty crazy stuff. I'm really excited at the potential of that occurring. If it does end up coming to pass, which we're hoping that it does, we don't see any qualms or anything of the sort, but you know, you always want to overpromise and you always want to underpromise and overdeliver, not overpromise and underdeliver. So we're not going to reveal anything until it's for sure set in stone, but I'm really excited about it. So look for announcements on that in the coming weeks. So tonight we're going to start with urban legends. And what is an urban legend? So an urban legend, defined, is essentially a tale that'll originate from a real life event, cultural myth, or a shared fear. They evolve as they're retold, adapting to the values and concerns of different communities over time. And just to kind of give you a brief little overview of what an urban legend is, there's a really nice AI-generated video on YouTube. We love utilizing YouTube over here at The Cut. And Anthony, play that thing for me so the people can get a little visualization.
Have a remarkable power to shape our fears and behaviors, often rooted in cultural anxieties. One compelling example is the legend of the killer in the back seat. This story warns about the dangers of being unaware of our surroundings. Such tales, often shared in whispers, tap into our primal fears, leading to heightened caution in seemingly safe situations. They create a cycle of anxiety where the fear of the unknown drives behavior. This manipulation of fear can influence decisions about safety, travel, and even trust in strangers. Ultimately, urban legends serve as a reflection of societal concerns, revealing the deep-seated emotions that guide our actions. Urban legends have a remarkable
very
power
cool.
to shape our fears.
So hey, what a nice little video there. It really gives you a little overview of that, especially the killer in the back seat. I like that example because that's kind of something that we heard growing up in our time when we were younger, learning how to drive maybe. Anthony and I were 35, 36 years old now, so that would have been about 20 years ago learning how to drive. That fear of the person in the back seat, always check your surroundings, always check your car, that kind of thing. So that's an urban myth that definitely stuck with me. But when we talk about that, that kind of ties back into another aspect of an urban legend, which is a societal fear. And a societal fear emerges from real threats, crime, disease, or in this case, maybe someone in the backseat of your car, something very plausible, right? Or it comes from misunderstandings or misinformation. And they often reflect the anxieties of a particular time influenced by cultural, political, and societal contexts. So as you kind of get a little bit older, I think it's really interesting. You hear these urban myths when you're younger, right? What you hear when you're 8, the urban myth that you hear when you're 8 might change a little bit. And the whole cool thing about these urban legends is they can change with the times. Prior to maybe 2006, the internet really wasn't like widely available in everyone's pocket like it is now. And even in 2006, I don't think that's the right time frame. Maybe like 2009 when the iPhone was 2009, right, Anthony?
Which iPhone is that?
The very first one, the 2G.
Oh, the very first iPhone was
Yeah.
2007.
It was 2007.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So 2007, when the internet became more widely available in people's pockets, it made the information spreading even bigger. The creepypasta community became big, and that can all spread through iPhones. Before that, the story would be one way, and you'd hear it from your cousin, at a bonfire or a sleepover, and then you'd tell it to a buddy of yours when maybe you got a little bit older, like you're hanging out like in the basement or, hanging out in the backwoods, something like that. So it all changes, but then the internet comes around and changes everything, makes it really awesome to be able to spread this information, right? And that plays directly into the next thing I'm going to talk about with urban myths kind of being spread, and that's the mechanisms of that spread. So urban legends are spread through the word of mouth, social media, and community storytelling, and they thrive on sensationalism and emotional resonance. So it makes them memorable and shareable, right? You aren't going to share a shitty urban legend. That's just, maybe like a shitty premise that you make scary. But a societal fear of that is being spread through media coverage, social narratives, and public discourse. So they often gain momentum through sensational headlines or stories that provoke strong emotional reactions, right? So that's exactly like today how our real world parallels urban myths, because these societal fears that we have, COVID-19 being the COVID-19 pandemic being one of the biggest things of how the media coverage, the social narrative, and public discourse spread the societal fear of the unknown, everything like that, through the news. Media coverage, the news was spreading all sorts of information. It didn't care if it was accurate or inaccurate. It was spreading it. The social narratives, people were so quick to blame one subsect of our world, Wuhan, China, that they didn't really think to think about where else it could have been coming from. And it's later proven to be that it came from Wuhan, but I mean, at the same time, they immediately were just blaming them, and they weren't really talking about the other places it could have spread. I mean, it spread from airports and everything like that. I mean, it was just a really wild time, and the social narrative really guided what people were doing. And the public discourse. So public discourse meaning, how people talking to each other, people chatting about it and spreading it maybe on the internet, message boards, text messages, Snapchat, that kind of thing. So the momentum was being gained through these sensational headlines that the news was assigning to them, but also the sensational headlines that we were giving. People were making big blanket statements. They were making statements that, hey, let's just talk about the misinformation of the vaccines. People are saying you had to get vaccinated. The vaccine is good, everything like that. And hey, I don't really care where you stand on that. But at the same time, there was a lot of misinformation spread about the vaccine. Like it was a one-stop cure-all. And then, what was it, like 2 months later, they said you got to get boosters for it. And it was just because they gathered new information, right? But they were doing these blanket statements that's very dangerous. And that's kind of what an urban legend will do to you, man. It'll spread through the word of mouth, and it's sensationalism and makes it seem almost real. And we're going to talk about the role of fear with urban legends. So, urban legends are stories that are more often than not going to serve as a cautionary tale. It's going to warn you against doing certain things or living a certain lifestyle. It's going to encapsulate societal fears. And it's going to make those societal fears tangible through like a dramatic narrative, like such as the danger of trusting a stranger. So basically, it's almost like these urban legends are almost like the modern day fables, right? A modern day fable, meaning a story that we're going to get into here. I'm going to tell you guys a story in a minute, like probably one of my favorite urban legends, but it's really a modern day fable of being cognizant of your surroundings, being cognizant of trusting the people that you're with, right? So I want to watch a video real quick about the role that fear, like the physiology of fear, I suppose. So Anthony, if you've got that queued up, if you can get that going for me, I really think that this video is important because what it's going to do is it's going to show us how fear is kind of formed in us and the impact of that fear in our bodies.
You've probably heard of fight or flight, which is the response the body has to stress or fear. Let's use the interactive 3D models in Human Anatomy Atlas Plus and Physiology and Pathology to walk through the body's fear response. A chain reaction is triggered when you perceive a threat. First, your amygdala sounds the alarm. The amygdala is part of your brain that, among other things, connects memory and emotion. The amygdala calls upon the hypothalamus, which acts as your body's switchboard, sending signals to the rest of your endocrine system. That's how the message gets to the adrenal glands. You have 2 adrenal glands, one atop each kidney, and they produce and release hormones directly into the bloodstream. In the stress response, the adrenal glands release epinephrine and norepinephrine. Epinephrine signals a number of changes in the body that you might recognize. Your lungs expand and the rate of respiration increases, so your body takes in more oxygen to deal with the threat. Your heart beats faster. Your pupils dilate, and your muscles begin to tense up. The body deems some functions like digestion unnecessary in a dangerous situation and begins to slow them down. If the threat sticks around, the hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenal glands get ready for round 2. The hypothalamus releases a hormone called CRH, which signals the pituitary gland to release ACTH. ACTH, in turn, signals the adrenal glands to release cortisol, often called the stress hormone. Cortisol helps give the body the energy it needs to stay on high alert for a bit longer by signaling several organs in the body to make changes impacting blood glucose levels. When the threat is over, your body starts to wind back down. Cortisol levels decrease, and your body starts to go back to its everyday functions. Want to learn more about the anatomy and physiology of stress? Visible Body Web Suite has all the 3D gross and microanatomy models and physiology animations you need, as well as 3D flashcard decks for studying. Learn more at visiblebody.com/websuite.
All right, so hey, shout out to Visible Body there. Visible Body, a channel that's going to give us some information about how our brains, how our body works. Goes into another channel, psychexplained.com, and Psych Explained is another great channel that's going to basically teach you a little bit how your mind works in reaction to fear. But for our purposes tonight, I want to shout out again Visible Body on YouTube for this video, because it gives a fantastic breakdown without being intimidating, kind of throwing weird words that you might not understand on how fear works in the body. So if we watch that video, we can see, it starts in the brain, it goes down to adrenal glands, it starts getting your heart pumping. There's so many different parts of your body that play into that fear response, right? How we feel when we're scared. And it starts again in the amygdala. So again, shout out Visible Body for that. So, all right. Fear obviously isn't just a knee-jerk response like we think of it. Fear is a very physical reaction, a very chemical reaction too at the same time. So when we hear these things that might be true or untrue, our body doesn't care at that point, right? Our body only knows one thing, and that's fight or flight. And in that instance, the body starts generating fear, essentially. And I think that's very interesting. Something doesn't necessarily have to be true for it to be scary, right? So again, the societal fear of an urban legend or anything can lead to changes in behavior, policies, and community dynamics. They often manifest as a collective anxiety about safety, morality, the future, and it's going to influence how people interact with each other. So we can see right there our bodies acting the way that they do, our brain acting the way it does when it detects a scary situation. I think one of the coolest things about that is that everyone's the same, because not every person's the same in how they react to the fear, but every person's body is the same in how it interprets and processes the fear. So I think that that's going to be very interesting when I tell the urban legend I'm going to tell you guys, because what might be scary to me, Anthony might not have a reaction to. Maybe he's heard the story a million times. Maybe something like this just doesn't fucking scare him. And that's cool if it doesn't scare him. You know what I mean? It scares the shit out of me. But what do urban legends, what impact do urban legends have on a reflection of our values, I guess, is a good question. And the reason I ask that question is because everybody has values, right? And urban legends are going to reveal moral and ethical values of a society or a person. And it showcases what is considered taboo or dangerous. So, for example, legends about the dangers of drug use or promiscuity reflect the societal concerns about youth behavior, right? So people tell these stories to younger people, like promiscuity. That plays deeply into the story I'm going to tell you guys. So these adults tell the story so that maybe kids don't drive off in the middle of the night to hook up corner or whatever it is. It makes it so that kids kind of think twice, right? Or maybe maybe like your mom tells you a story about her friend Jane's uncle, who back in the 1960s smoked marijuana one time and he turned into an actual zombie, right? And he walked around for years like a zombie. We know it's not true, but it still freaks you out just a little bit, so that you might not try that marijuana, right? And that plays into the societal fears that urban legends make. And these fears, they can highlight the underlying values of our society, such as a desire for safety, stability, and order. And they can also reveal prejudices and biases. So it's going to demonstrate how fear can be directed towards marginalized groups. So we're kind of delving a little bit more into into the societal impact of urban legends, and that's going to have your impact on behavior. So urban legends, the fear that you get from urban legends is propagated by that the fear that these legends propagate can lead to behavioral changes, such as avoiding a certain place or a certain type of person, and in turn reinforces stereotypes and societal divides. So there's a good topic of debate there. Are urban legends a good thing? Right? Because as we just heard, urban legends can reinforce stereotypes and societal divides. So, I don't have a specific urban legend in mind, but, we talk about maybe ghosts can be an allegory for a different group of people, right? You want to avoid those ghosts at all costs, and those ghosts hang out on this side of town. Well, as a kid, you're probably going to avoid that side of town, and that's not going to be good or conducive to advancing your social profile or advancing the community aspect of your life. And that plays into the societal fears. Real societal fears and broad societal fears can result in changes in the law, policy, and public behavior, such as increased surveillance, discrimination, or the stigmatization of specific groups, right? So Anthony's got something pulled up that he's going to show us real quick. Anthony, why don't you tell us what you got pulled up?
Brother, I just got I don't know. I just was looking up urban legends, and here's a few of them, apparently. I don't know if you want to read those. Read one, maybe? This is urban legends that turned out to be true. Ooh, wow.
So here's it. Mental Floss. Mental Floss is the website?
Yes, it looks like it.
All right, so mentalfloss.com brings us this, and we were just talking about how urban legends can turn out to be true. They can have a bit of truth to them. Maybe they help perpetuate a belief. Maybe they help break down a stereotype, or maybe they make it so that you are too afraid to go somewhere. But we're going to find out one right now. I'm going to read you guys the Cropsey.
You have Cropsey? Okay.
Because I know what Cropsey is, but I don't know if a lot of people know who Cropsey is. All right.
Apparently there's a video, too. A trailer.
There's a trailer for a movie, which is interesting.
You want to read the legend?
I'm going to read the legend. Go on up. Rats in the toilet bowl. All right, Cropsey. All right, so the legend of Cropsey. So for years, kids living in and around Staten Island raised goosebumps by relating the tale of Cropsey. Cropsey is a boogeyman who lived in the woods and made a nocturnal habit of disemboweling children. Parents no doubt eased their kids' fears by telling them no such monster existed. But he did. In 1987, Andre Rand was put on trial and convicted for a child abduction. Rand, it turned out, may have been connected to a rash of child disappearances in the 1970s. He had once worked at Willowbrook, which is a defunct mental institution. While he denies involvement in other cases, it's clear Rand's activities had a heavy influence in the word-of-mouth stories that followed. So, Anthony, go ahead, go on up. Looks like there's a trailer for Cropsey. Let's go ahead and whoa. I've never seen this before.
About 15 buildings here have been abandoned for quite some time. They did a lot of searching for the kids here.
Specifically for Jennifer and I believe Holly Ann.
Growing up on Staten Island, Barbara and I had often heard the legend of Cropsey.
You're supposed to have a hook and axe with a knife about this big.
Cropsey was the escaped mental patient who lived in the tunnels beneath the old abandoned Willowbrook mental institution, who would come out late at night, snatch children off the streets.
I would have never guessed there were the amount of weirdos living on Staten Island.
It might be somebody on your block. It might be somebody you work with.
You know, here's this guy going around picking off these kids.
I can imagine how other parents, even if your kid's gone for an hour, I can imagine how they must feel.
You know, that's probably one of the last things that you ever think about, that somebody would take your daughter.
It seemed like everywhere I went, there were people out in the woods looking for that little girl.
There's no question. If we were going to find her, we definitely were going to find her.
She thinks we're picking at dead children's bones.
We just want closure on this, that's all.
What was that?
I heard something.
Look down there. Look down the hallway.
It's scary because we have a boogeyman living on Staten Island all those years.
That image forced a lot of people to say, that is the killer.
There's no reason for him to exist anywhere else, you know, other than jail.
We had the same questions that you're asking me. Why did he do this? What set him off?
It's sort of like putting a puzzle together.
You know, he likes to be the center of attention, the keeper of the secrets.
So I think it'd be great if you could speak for your
What if we
organization.
just do audio?
Safety, I will not go on.
Do you think they're all around us?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think he's possessed. I really think that he is demonized and possessed.
Interesting. So that gives you like a kind of a good idea of the legend of Cropsey. So essentially, Cropsey was someone who lived on Staten Island. He lived in the tunnels underground mental asylum that was abandoned, and he would go and essentially abduct children in the middle of the street, bring them down, disembowel them, kill them, and the kids were missing. And the legend of Cropsey grew, that Cropsey lived around there, and he was, if you were out at night, or if you weren't with your parents, if you weren't with them and holding their hand, if you weren't in their sight anymore and you weren't paying attention, he was going to take you. So, and that actually turned out to be real. So there is a modicum of truth to urban legends, and I think that that's probably the coolest thing about an urban legend, because there's a certain psychological aspect to urban legends, right? And that has to be the allure of hiding in the ability to play on our deepest fears and curiosities, making them both entertaining and unsettling. So I've told Anthony this, I've told my friends this. I actually like being scared a little bit. I think it's fun to have like that kind of fear of the unknown, that kind of thing. And I've always enjoyed stories, I guess, stories that are unsettling, stories that scare you, stories that could be true, stories that aren't true, but the role that fear plays in that is fun, because you can kind of learn to conquer your fears through there, right? And it's Halloween season, it's spooky season right now. So every story under the sun is told to kids at this time, or, even at our age, 30, 35, 36 years old, if you get a couple buddies on the back porch on a late fall night and you start having a couple beers, telling a story or two. And that's fun. That's interesting, and it's always drawing on something that's has a sliver of truth to it, right? And we have, as a society, we have societal fears, and there's been psychological research that shows fear can trigger protective instincts, leading people to seek out information or solutions, which can sometimes spiral into panic or irrational behavior, right? So when we get scared, we can act two ways. We can either embrace that fear and actively try to conquer it, or we can spiral. We can panic. We can be irrational. We can make a scene and hope that everything gets better when we do that, or we know that we're making it worse. But whatever way it plays out, in our mind, that's the best way to do it at that time. And I think that urban legends play a big part in that, because as we hear these urban legends, you can say something like, oh, well, I would never react that way. I'd never do this. I'd never do that. Right. So it's fun because, through these urban legends, you can actually make a proactive plan on how you'd react to something like that. And I'm going to tell you guys my favorite urban legend here in a minute. But before I do that, I want to thank you for coming this far in the video with me. If you could like and comment on the video, and if you could subscribe to the channel and share this video, we'd certainly appreciate it, so we can continue to bring you fantastic content as this channel evolves. I can't wait to take that journey with you. So if you guys want to keep on keeping on with me, let's get into my story. I had to get a little water for it, though. So, by examining urban legends, by looking at them, by dissecting them, by overcoming our fear of the story, we can gain insights into the deeper societal fears that influence our behavior and attitudes, and we can create a rich narrative tapestry that connects our past and present anxieties and how to overcome them. And I think that no story better encapsulates that notion that I just brought up than The Hook. So, Anthony, I think it's apropos to say that The Cut is presenting Thom Roth Presents The Hook here. So, let's get going. So, there were reports that had been on the radio all day, but she didn't pay very much attention to them. Some crazy guy had escaped from the state asylum, and they were calling him the Hook Man since he had lost his right arm and replaced it with a hook. He was a killer, and everyone in the region was warned to keep watch and report anything suspicious, you know, as they do. But this didn't interest our girl. She was more worried about what to wear on her date. And she called her friends, had about 7 consultation calls with them. She chose a blue outfit in the very latest style and was ready and waiting on the porch when her boyfriend came to pick her up in his car. So they went to a drive-in movie with another couple. They dropped that other couple off and went parking in the local lover's lane. The blue outfit was a hit. She cuddled close to her boyfriend, and they kissed to the sound of romantic music on the radio. So then, as they're doing this, as, her blue outfit's making her boyfriend go wild, and they're in the throes of passion after seeing some movie, the disc jockey comes on the radio and repeating a warning, that warning that she had heard that afternoon. There's an insane killer with a hook in place of his right hand. He's on the loose, and he's in the area. Suddenly, the dark, moonless night didn't really seem romantic to her. Lover's Lane was secluded and off the beaten track, and this was a perfect spot for a deranged madman to lurk, she thought. And so she pushed her boyfriend away, and she says, maybe we should get out of here. That hook man sounds pretty dangerous. And, boyfriend being a boyfriend, come on, babe, it's nothing. And he was just trying to get another kiss, but she's pushing him away again. And she goes, no, really, we're all alone out here. I'm scared. So they start arguing for a minute, and then the car shakes a bit, as if something or someone had touched it. So she gives a shriek, and she says, get us out of here. So the boyfriend, probably a little unnerved, but, more annoyed that, she's got a blue dress, but at that point, he's got blue balls. So he's like, geez, and so he's pissed, and he turns the key, and they went roaring out of Lover's Lane with his tires screeching. So they drive home in silence, and when they pulled into the driveway, he didn't want to help her out of the car. He was being pretty unreasonable, and she was pissed about it. So she opens the door and steps into her driveway with her chin up and her lips set. She turns around, she slams the door as hard as she can, and then she screamed. So her boyfriend, freaked out about it, leaps out of the car and catches her in his arms and goes, what's going on? What's wrong? Then he sees it. A bloody hook hangs from the handle of the passenger side door. And that's how that story ends. So, there is a shred of truth in that story. And the moral lesson of this, You know, the hook serves as a cautionary tale. It warns young couples about the dangers of being in isolated places and the potential consequences of ignoring warnings. But not just that. I mean, it brings up caution and alertness uh when you're a 16-year-old kid, you know, you're with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you probably want to get laid, you probably want to go off and do something that your family is telling you not to do. And this story emphasizes the importance of being aware of your surroundings and taking warnings seriously. The couple's initial dismissal of the news report about the escaped hook convict guy demonstrates the common human tendency to ignore potential dangers, especially when you're in a pretty safe environment. And it goes on to danger and isolation. So, you know, always be around somebody. And you set the story in a secluded area. The legend is highlighting the risks associated with isolation. So it serves as a reminder that danger can lurk in places that appear peaceful, particularly when you're alone or you're vulnerable. So the hook kind of also is an urban legend about discouraging promiscuity, right? It's pretty pretty clear what what the boyfriend was wanting to do and what she was hoping to do too. And then the guy with the hook comes around and she gets jarred up and she doesn't want to do it anymore. And when they leave, she turns around, she finds the hook on the car door, and it pretty much serves as the reminder that if they did engage in that, you know, something serious probably could have happened. And Anthony actually has a YouTube short here that he found that he wants to show us. So Anthony, go ahead and put it on there for me, Daddy.
The Hookman legend is a spine-chilling urban myth that has been shared around countless campfires. The story typically begins with a young couple parked at a secluded lover's lane. As they listen to music and enjoy each other's company, a news bulletin interrupts, warning of an escaped killer with a hook for a hand. Fearful, the couple decides to leave, but as they speed away, they hear scraping sounds. Upon returning home, they discover a bloody hook hanging from the car door handle. This tale, rooted in 1950s America, serves as both a cautionary story for young lovers and a timeless piece of horror folklore, reminding us of the thin line between safety and danger. The Hookman legend is a spine-chilling urban myth.
Yeah. Hey, that's pretty. Hey, that was a great recap. I don't think I could have done it better. As I was saying, like it really warns against promiscuity. So that hook legend has been around forever. Like my dad said that he remembers that, and my dad's the one that told me it years ago, and it became my favorite just because like there's so many different things that go into one story. Being aware of your surroundings, you know, don't stop looking don't stop paying attention. You know, you never know what's going on. The promiscuity aspect, I mean, this, like my dad was born in the 50s. So, I mean, this story's been around since then. And, you know, people were pruder than they are now. You know, we're a little bit more liberal when it comes to relations and such now. And, you know, I don't think that plays as much of an aspect into it today because people are a little bit more, again, liberal. But at the same time, you know, it's a great story to tell young people, you know, hey, maybe we're not so promiscuous when we're out because then we won't be paying attention to our surroundings. You know, we won't be paying attention to what's going on around us, and it could prove to be fatal. It's the moral lesson of the hook instills a sense of caution and awareness, like I said, and particularly amongst young people. But, you know, when you explore these themes, the legend captures our imagination while also providing us a valuable cautionary tale that resonates across generations, like I just said. And this is why it remains a popular and endearing part of urban folklore. It effectively blends entertainment with important societal lessons. And I think that's the biggest part about urban legends that is so amazing, is because it transcends time. It transcends generations. The same urban legend that your grandma heard is the same urban legend you're going to hear, maybe with a little bit of a twist, maybe with a new pool on it. Maybe they're not in a 69 Chevelle anymore. Maybe they're in a 2017 Chevy Cruze. But, the key facts remain the same. And that's what I think is so awesome. You have these movies that come out and they tell you the same story, but with different characters. And the lesson always feels different, or the moral always feels different. Urban legends is pretty straight across the board. And I think that urban legends are a very important part of our society because it says a lot on how we deal with our fears. We rationalize our fears by telling a story. And one of the most comforting things to do is tell a story. Our lives are all individualized stories, but if we're able to share a chapter or an excerpt of our own individual story with each other and make it a commonality, I think that's one of the coolest things that we can do. So I told you my favorite urban legend, and now we've covered urban legends today and the role that they play in fear. So now we're going to start ending the show tonight with a question for you guys that I'd like for you to discuss maybe as the week goes on, or maybe if you're tuned in, you can talk to me about it tonight. But then I'm going to tell you some crazy shit that's happened that plays not in urban legend, but the Mandela effect. So I want to know what your guys' favorite urban legend is. And I would like you to comment on it, or I'd like you to message us or discuss it throughout the week. What's your favorite urban legend? And why is it your favorite urban legend? Anthony, do you have a favorite urban legend?
Not one that comes to mind, no.
Well, I'll go fuck myself, Anthony. Thanks. Yeah, all right. So Anthony doesn't have a favorite urban legend. Don't be like Anthony. Tell me your favorite urban legend. I'd love to know. There's so many good ones. The Hook is one of my favorite ones. The Mothman is another one. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Mothman, but he's mainly centered in West Virginia. And he would call this guy and predicted the future, and he was right every time. It's a true story that happened, and there's actually a movie starring Richard Gere that came out in the mid-2000s that's called The Mothman Prophecies, and it's based on real events. It was a pretty crazy story. Another urban legend that I think is really awesome, and it's a newer urban legend, is the Slender Man. Have you ever heard of the Slender Man?
I've seen the Halloween costume. Don't know anything about it.
I'm looking at him right here. You're tall and skinny.
Oh, thanks, bro.
You're tall and skinny, just like the Slender Man. No, so the Slender Man story essentially goes, it started as a creepypasta on news groups on the internet. So I don't know if you guys are older enough to remember news groups. Anthony and I are. But news groups used to be the original chat rooms and message boards. It was like an email service, and it was like a message board email, and this story called The Slender Man came in, and he's just this big, tall guy that if you see him, you're dead. But he pops up in the woods. He's tall. He's faceless. He's got long fingers. He's super skinny. He doesn't talk, and he'll abduct you. And this was like an urban legend that started with the spread of the internet. So the internet has played a huge part in not only telling old urban legends, but the internet's also making new urban legends, which is really awesome. There was another one that you guys should look up called Dear David. But Anthony's got a picture of the Slender Man. He's showing me right now. Slender Man, he's in a suit and he's got a red tie on, and he's pretty fucking creepy looking. If you look on up there, Have you guys ever seen this guy before? I mean, after the Slender Man myth came out, people were saying like, "Oh, I've fucking seen this guy," and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if you've actually seen the Slender Man. You probably just seen some fucking creep in the woods that had some ill intentions, man. But another really good urban legend that's come, like I said, from the internet is Dear David. Dear David was a story that came on Reddit. And it was basically this guy had an apartment and he found a ghost. And this ghost ended up talking to him, and he was basically trying to get the ghost out of his house. But if you go onto Reddit and type in Dear David, that's a fantastic one to read. And then there's actually there was some fucking weird one back in 2018 or 2019, I think. And it was called Momo. And I don't know who the fuck Momo is, but like I remember seeing this picture that Anthony's got on the screen. Is there a video about Momo anywhere that we know of? What the fuck? Okay, so viewer discretion's advised. The following content may contain suicide or self-harm topics. Obviously, don't commit suicide or harm yourself. And if you're thinking about it, call someone, because you shouldn't have to fight that battle alone. But go ahead.
This school is freaking everyone out.
By the way, 988. If you dial 988 right here, suicide crisis.
988.
She's called Momo. She's got bug eyes, long stringy hair, a monstrous grimace, and spooky chicken legs. Imagine this freaky character suddenly popping up in cartoons on YouTube channels for kids.
It's horrifying.
Bianca Becerra says Momo left her 3-year-old daughter traumatized.
That thing telling her to throw herself in the garbage and to throw herself from a slide to hurt her head. That's just terrifying.
Even Kim Kardashian, a mom of 3 little ones, is posting a warning on Instagram. Parents, please be aware and very cautious of what your child watches on YouTube. There is a thing called Momo that's instructing kids to kill themselves. Please pay attention. This is not a joke.
New warnings from police and schools about the so-called Momo challenge.
So who and what is Momo? Cybersecurity expert Perry Aftab.
It's the boogeyman under the bed, the monster in the closet.
The monstrous image of Momo is based on a sculpture created by a Japanese artist. He called his artwork Mother Bird. Our expert says the so-called Momo challenge started off as an urban legend that, unfortunately, is now becoming all too real.
Teach your kids to talk to you, come to you when things go wrong, and not believe everything they see on the internet.
Some say the whole Momo challenge is just a hoax, a theory being fueled by YouTube's statement that they have, quote, seen no recent evidence of videos promoting the Momo challenge. But they add that they will take down any videos that violate their policy of encouraging harmful challenges.
So Anthony made a really good point. I don't know if you guys could hear him, but this could be an urban legend for parents, to the importance of making your being aware of what your kids are watching online, being aware and cognizant and present in their lives, to have those conversations with them about what's real and what isn't, and that you can talk to me. And if someone's saying something weird to you online or anything like that, you need to talk to me. You need to tell me so that we can fix this situation. And I think in today's society, life was a lot simpler when the hook came out, right? But today life's a little bit more complicated because our kids have unbridled access to so many things. And now with them being able to be on YouTube or, guided on the internet by you or another loved one, we still get comfortable. We still get, our kids are never going to look at anything weird. I didn't raise my kids that way. And then something like this happens and the video said it was instructing kids to kill themselves or something. Like, that's insane. And I hope no child actually did that, because that would be absolutely heartbreaking. But, if a child did heed heed the advice of Momo and do that. I can't imagine the depth of pain that family's feeling, but it's kind of crazy how these urban legends went from just being in the car to now being everywhere because of online, because of being able to be online at all times. So parents, if you're watching this and you have a kid, the Momo is an urban legend that is true about being cognizant of what your kids are doing online. So if you made it this far with us, I would like to thank you. Please like and comment on the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel so we can continue to give you great content every week. And we're going to finish the show out today with a instance of the Mandela effect. So we all know what the Mandela effect is, and if you don't know, the Mandela effect is where you and a large group of people remember something one way until a lot of people remember it one certain way, and then it's not that way, you come to find out. So prime example of it is Fruit of the Loom, the clothing brand, undershirts and boxer briefs, that kind of thing. When I was younger, the Fruit of the Loom logo had a cornucopia. And then, out of the blue, I come to find out it didn't have a fucking cornucopia. It had all the fruit I remembered in the exact same position, but it didn't have a cornucopia. And I remember it having a cornucopia on my tag of my white t-shirts I had in 7th grade. So Anthony's got that up there right now. Yeah, I mean, it's... The logo on the left is the one I remember. Does anyone else remember that logo, or am I crazy? The other thing is the Berenstain Bears versus the Berenstain Bears. If you guys don't know who they are a group of anthropomorphic bears who were the subject of children's books and videos. And they essentially spelled their names one way. It was Berenstain. It was ended with S-T-E-I-N, not Berenstain. Now it's S-T-A-I-N. And I don't subscribe to that. I remember it being Berenstain. I remember it very clearly. There's so many examples of the Mandela effect that that you can really go down a fucking rabbit hole with it, man. So Mandela effect's all about remembering something one way, and you find out it's not true. Well, something like it really happened to me a while ago, and I my memory of it was jogged by like something happening to someone that was almost exactly like it. And I read it on Reddit. I read this guy tell this story on Reddit, and it made me think kind of something similar happened to me. So the Reddit story goes that there's this guy, let's just say his name's Jay. And Jay is in high school. He meets his wife, Kim, and him and Kim get together. They get married. They get jobs. They were in college. They get jobs. They're together through college. They end up having 2 kids together, 2 beautiful kids. Jay's got his job. He's happy. Kim's got her job. She's happy. Everyone's doing great, right? And Jay's about 35 years old, so about my age when this happens. Jay, it's a Sunday, and he is sitting in his living room, and he's watching TV. He's watching the football game. And he does this every Sunday. His wife, his kids, everyone, they know, hey, Dad's watching football. We're going to go out, do this, that, and the other thing. So it's early in the morning. They go out for breakfast, but Jay's like watching the countdown to the NFL, right? So he's watching highlights from last week, that kind of thing. And it's fall time, so it is still a little dark out in the morning, and he turns on a lamp in his room. And he's watching the TV, and out of the corner of his eye, he kind of notices something about this lamp. Like he's looking at this lamp. And something's just not right. Like he's looking at it, it's up and down like this glass, right? He's looking at it, and something just doesn't seem right. It seems like a little blurry to him. So he says, well, I got glasses. My eyes are kind of fucked up, so, whatever. No big deal. He goes back to watching the game. Well, like 10 minutes later, out of the corner of his eye, he catches it. The lamp's upside down now. It's not right side up. It's upside down, and it's on. And it's still blurry. And Jay's like, what the fuck? And he's looking and looking. And he doesn't care about the football on the TV anymore. He cares about this lamp, right? He's looking at this lamp, and then he hears his family come home, and his wife and his kids come in, and they're like, hey, we're going to get ready for church. And he's like, I don't really feel good. I'm not going to church today. And the family's like, oh shit, because Jay's a family man and a church man, and he's going to go to church no matter what. And they're like, okay, are you sure? And he goes, yeah. So family leaves, they go to church, and Jay doesn't give a damn about the football game anymore. Jay cares about this lamp. He's looking at it, and it's looking blurry. He can't touch it, right? Like, he tries to touch it, and it kind of fizzles, or it like kind of moves a little bit, so he can't touch it. So finally, he touches it and turns it right side up. That's that. He turns the light off. He goes back to watching the football highlights. The football game comes on. He's watching the game. He forgets all about the lamp. Well, when his family comes home from church, they bring lunch. And he's sitting there, and he's like, okay, well, I'm going to go eat lunch now. So he walks into the kitchen, and he turns, and out of the corner of his eye, he sees that the lamp's upside down again. He's like, what the fuck? So again, he can't touch it, whatever. He's kind of getting freaked out, but he says, okay, something's wrong. I'm going to call the doctor tomorrow. He goes in, he eats lunch. He tries to forget about the lamp, but he can't. And he lays down for bed that night with his wife and kisses her goodnight and goes to sleep. Except he can't sleep. He wakes up, and he's so disturbed by this lamp that he goes downstairs, and the lamp's on, and it's upside down again. And he can't fucking figure out what's going on. And he sits there, and he stares at that lamp. And he's staring, and he's staring, and he's staring. Well, the morning comes, and Kim comes downstairs with the kids, and she goes, are you okay? And he goes, yeah, hey, I got to call off of work today. Like, I'm not feeling good. And she says, oh my God, you're still not feeling good? Because, I mean, Jay at this point hasn't called off work ever. He always goes to work. And so the family goes in. He says, hey, don't worry about me. Go to work. I'll see you when you get home. I love you. So all day he's staring at this lamp. And then all of a sudden, the lamp starts to get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger in his field of vision until it's so big it encapsulates everything. And he starts hearing all these people talking. And all of a sudden, the lamp gets so big, it engulfs him. He wakes, he like opens his eyes, and he's laying on the ground. Someone's holding his head, and they're like, hey, are you okay? Can you hear me? And Jay's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And he gets up and he starts yelling, you know, where's Kim? Where are my kids? And everyone's like looking, and a police officer comes over and gets him and says, hey, calm down, and then picks him up and puts him in, helps him get into an ambulance, and they drive away. And he's yelling. He wants his family. He wants his family. Here's her phone number, everything like that. They call. That's not anyone named Kim. That's not even a number that's in service. And he's freaking out. He's like, what the fuck? He gets to the hospital. He had hit his head, and he was in a coma, or he was passed out, and he lived an entire life while he was in this like mini coma. And he remembered the details, everything about his life that he built, everything. And he remembered everything about this red lamp, and he became obsessed with it. And he remembered, and it was like he lost a family. It was like real loss that he felt. And it's all because he hit his head, he makes this life, and then he notices something out of the blue. It's the red lamp. So nothing like that happened to me, but it is kind of freaky, and I want to share it with you guys because it is a spooky season. So the Mandela effect plays into this too, why I talked about the Mandela effect. So when I was growing up, I had this red lamp. It was actually, it was like this color, red. And it had a round base, and it came up, and it was bendy. You could bend this thing, and there was a red plane at the top. And I loved this lamp. It was always on my nightstand growing up. And when I went to college, I brought the lamp with me to college to put on my nightstand. And I had this lamp, and it was a red lamp with an airplane, and it was awesome. Like, it was like the one thing that I had from when I was a kid that was really cool, and I loved it. And everyone knew about my red lamp. Like, my girlfriend at the time, she would twist it or whatever because we'd be reading if we were going to bed, or when I lived with Marcus Pearson, we'd angle the lights so that we could see when we were getting ready for bed, or we were trying to find the remote. My roommate Dave, for years, he used the light a few times. I know he did. One night I'm going to bed in college, and it was always bent towards my bed so I could read, but that night it was straight up and down. And I was kind of like, what the fuck? So I bend it back down, and that's that. I read, I go to bed. I wake up in the morning, it's straight up and down again. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I bend it down again, and my girlfriend at the time is like, what are you talking about? It's never been bent. It's always straight up and down. And I'm like, no, that's not true. So that's in like September, October-ish. November, I go home, and it's my 5th year of college at that point. So it's my last Christmas vacation, last Thanksgiving break. I go home for Thanksgiving. I'm bringing certain things home, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to start bringing stuff from the bedroom home. And I brought the lamp home, and I put it on my nightstand. I went to bed. I had it on, whatever. I leave. I go back to school. I do my finals, everything like that. And I come home. I go to my bedroom, and the red airplane lamp isn't there anymore. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, where the fuck did it go, So I go into my younger brother's room, and I said, hey, yo, Julius, where's my red lamp? And he goes, what are you talking about? And I said, yeah, it's not on my nightstand. It's fucking weird. Did Mom move it or something? Did you move it? Did you break it? Like, what's up? He said, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then he left it at that. So there was a blue lamp there, whatever. It was fine. It was like this like blue vase looking lamp. It's cool. I go to bed. I don't think anything of it. Maybe Julius is just fucking with me, because if you guys know my younger brother, he fucks with me. So I leave it alone, and I don't really think about it until I get home. I'm moving home from college, and I go back into my bedroom, and that blue lamp's still there. So I go downstairs, and I say, hey, Mom. And she said, yeah. And I go, where's my red airplane lamp? And she looked at me, and she kind of like narrowed her eyes, like, what are you talking about? And she goes, what red lamp? And I said, the red lamp that I've had since I was 5 years old. Like, it's been in my bedroom forever. And she's looking at me, and she's like, I'm Thom, I don't know what you're talking about. And she says, you have never had a red lamp. I said, my red airplane lamp. It has the airplane, and it's bendy. And she looks at me again, and she goes, Thomas, you've never had that lamp. You've always had that blue lamp right there. You never brought a lamp to school with you. So then I asked my girlfriend at the time. She didn't know what I was talking about. Marcus Pearson had no idea what I was talking about. And my roommate Dave, who I thought those two were fucking with me. I thought if anyone, my buddy Dave would tell me about the red lamp. Maybe I forgot I left it at school and he had it. And he said, Thom, you never had a red lamp. You always used your phone to light up your room. And that really fucked with me. So my whole life, I believed I had a red lamp in my room with me at all times. And it turns out the lamp never fucking existed. The lamp never fucking existed. And I don't know how that's possible, because I remember clearly this red lamp in my room. And I remember it was an airplane, and I had transformers and like jet planes and stuff like that I put next to it because I thought it looked cool. And then one day I'm thinking to myself, because it was really fucking with me, I thought I was going crazy. And I said, no. I had a Spider-Man action figure. And this Spider-Man action figure had ball bearings in his elbows, his knees, his belly, his neck, everywhere. You could position him however you wanted. He was like a truly opposable Spider-Man. And I remember I put him on that red airplane because